Connected, Part 1. Posts from Alkos Trudeaux. Before I read this transcript, let me just clarify a couple of things. I don't know when these videos were originally posted online, their removal date, nor the website they were posted on. I do not know Alkos Trudeaux, or if he's even still alive. I cannot attest to the authenticity of what each transcript presents or alludes to. I was asked to post these transcripts from the videos so that, if for no other reason, his life may give someone else answers. Here is the first transcript. My life hasn't been normal. Well, that's putting it politely. My life has been a surreal nightmare ride from the beginning. I don't remember anything before waking up in the back of an abandoned hearse. More on that later. But I have managed to dig up some of my own history. I don't have much time, so I'll just give you what I know about the beginning. On January 6th, 1986, at 6 p.m., a child was born in the mountains of Utah. A blizzard had blown in and was wreaking havoc on the whole area. News reports stated the storm had lightning, which caused the power to go out at 6 sharp. Backup generators and emergency systems wouldn't work either. It was a complete electrical blackout. Additionally, reports came in from everywhere in town of strange sightings and events. There were multiple cases of lightning striking buildings and vehicles, lighting up all the electronics within for just that second. People claimed that they heard strange howls and screams coming from outside in the storm. Huge beasts of varying descriptions were seen, leaving the forests and moving through town, lurking around streets and alleyways, trying to gain entry into businesses and homes, and finally, converging on the hospital where, as some later claimed, the beasts broke in through the wind-damaged doors of the ER. Hospital staff were attacked and killed, as well as many of the visitors and patients. This is at least what everyday people claimed. However, the files that I've gained access to show a slightly different scenario at the hospital. I didn't even know that hospitals had security cameras back then, but surprisingly, I found footage from that night when I hacked into the database from a government-funded lab connected to all of this. The footage shows the ER doors of the hospitals having trouble closing from the wind. Several people, both staff and visitors, standing nearby, but not attempting to close the doors. They kept pointing outside at something. Another camera was outside, but was nearly useless with all the snow and ice blowing in front of it. Mostly all that could be seen was light from the ER doors. What was strange, though, was that whenever the lightning would flash, it would momentarily illuminate the area outside of the hospital, revealing dark shapes moving quickly around in the storm. I can only assume these are the beasts that people claimed to see. There was a vehicle that pulled up just out of view from the camera with its headlights shining on the entrance, and all the shapes converged on the doors but didn't try to go in. It just seemed to be blocking the vehicle. It sat there for a moment before it backed away and the shapes returned to their seemingly aimless wandering around the exterior of the hospital. The vehicle returned a couple of times, each time aiming at the entrance, but was blocked by the shapes. A few minutes later, though, the vehicle returned, this time driving way too fast for storm conditions, and it barreled past the shapes and crashed through the ER doors at the exact moment that the power went out in the entire city. Everyone inside scattered as a dark-colored van plowed into the intake desk of the ER. Immediately, men wearing black suits and sunglasses exited the van, apparently unfazed by the whole ordeal, and began shooting everyone in sight. Everyone tried to run for their lives, but it didn't matter. The men moved with cold and calculated speed and expressionless faces. Within seconds, they'd killed everyone and split up as they moved down the hallways to continue their killing spree. There were 2 other men, however, that hadn't shot anyone. Instead, when they exited the van, they hurriedly took up positions on each side of it and held up strange machines with dinner plate-sized parabolic antennas and aimed them at the entrance. Now, the picture was in black and white, so I couldn't see any colors, but the machines began emitting a light that formed into a barrier. Yes, these were, for a lack of a better term, force fields. It didn't take long to see why. They had taken this precaution as the shapes outside descended on the destroyed ER entrance. Massive black dogs burst in, slammed into the barrier. And when I say they were massive, they stood as tall as the van. They had glowing eyes and mouths, and thick black smoke poured off of them. I know now that these are called hellhounds. No, they're not actually from hell. Well, not the hell taught by any religion, at least. But they're from somewhere near hell. That I'll have to explain later. Anyways, the two men struggled as the hellhounds repeatedly bashed and clawed at the barrier. While the force field seemed to be able to stop the brunt of the attacks, there was a returning force carried back to the men. One of them actually fell and was nearly clawed by one of the hellhounds as it stretched an arm through the small hole formed in the gap. But the man managed to right himself and repaired the barrier. Meanwhile, the other men moved through the hospital until two of them found the baby. At that moment, you can see one of them put his hand up to his ear, and all of the other men stopped. Every single one of them in the entire hospital, as if frozen. If it wasn't for the other people moving in the footage, I would have believed that somebody had paused the video or that it had glitched or something. The man hadn't said anything. His mouth didn't even move. He just held his hand up like you see security guards and government agents do in movies and TV shows. I remember in one of the camera files seeing one of the men holding a gun to the head of another man who was on the floor at the foot of a hospital bed. A woman, likely his wife, was on life support, lying unconscious and unaware in the bed. The man on the floor was clearly pleading for their lives. The man in black just stood frozen, gun aimed, finger on the trigger. After a moment, every single one of the men gave a slow nod, turned around, and returned back down to the van, leaving everyone else in the hospital alone. The man who had put his hand to his ear, and his partner, had killed the parents and taken the baby with them. After they'd gotten back in the van, the two men creating the barrier, pulled something from their pockets and inserted whatever they had into the sides of the devices. The barrier began flashing brighter and brighter with increasing speed until the light became steady and grew so bright that nothing could be seen but a white screen. During this time, the hellhounds had fled back into the blizzard. The camera outside was showing a lot now, since the lightning flashes had increased so much that the sky was no longer dark. A moment later, the bright light from the barrier machines flooded the entire lobby and nearby hallways of the hospital. And it was just static after that for several minutes until the picture came back. There were no signs of the hellhounds, nor the van. All of the bodies, including that of the two men holding the barrier generators, were just charred corpses on the floor. The camera from outside had also gone out, but when it came back, it only showed the blizzard raging outside. The lightning had also stopped, and it was just wind and snow and ice. The official report stated that the hospital had been attacked by looters, likely drug addicts and gangs. It was also suggested that in the same report that wolves had come in seeking an easy meal and were likely starving from the harsh winter, and that the whole reason the wolves came into town at all was because of disorientation caused by the storm. Like that makes any sense. But what are you going to do? I was left with some questions after watching this footage. One of which was, why did they go through so much just to take me? I mean, seriously. Wouldn't it have been easier to wait until my parents took me home? They wouldn't have had to descend on the hospital like a swarm of cold-hearted killing machines. Was it because of the hellhounds? Well, I think that is likely. I'm not even sure why the hellhounds came. Not exactly. But I have found some possibilities, but that's for another time also. I am curious also about the cameras. How are they still working when the entire city was electrically dead? And without any lights inside the hospital, How were they able to film in that darkness? Why am I telling you this? I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I guess I just wanted to tell someone in hopes that somebody out there could fill in some details for me. I know that I'm not the only one. I'm hoping to find someone else. I do have more information, but I can't stay any longer. This connection isn't really all that secure, and I know that they're still hunting for me. They'll never stop. I'm honestly used to it by now. My name is Alkos Trudeaux, and I'm one of the children from the Langsham Hospital. This is the end of the first transcript from Alkos Trudeaux's first transmission. More later.